Hi everyone, I welcome you all to the last session of our Agile Network India September events. So that is by Kolkata chapter on collaborative intelligence, human plus artificial intelligence and ethical challenges by Debashish Hazra, who is a head at data science and artificial intelligence and machine learning at Amplo Global Inc. Just before we proceed with the chapter, let me quickly thank our founding sponsor, Innovation Roots. It is a leading consulting and training service providers helping organizations to achieve business agility and beyond. It is one of the leaders and pioneers of niche publishing services and well known for content collaboration with global thought leaders, authors, and creators. For more information, you may refer our website innovationroots.com. I would like to thank our sponsor, Gile. Gile is a product offering from Tata Consultancy Service Limited. It is a purely cloud-based enterprise agile planning tool along with DevOps capabilities. Enterprises can use Gile to adopt agile practices or scale across multiple Scrum and Kanban teams using enterprise scaling frameworks such as SAFe, Disciplined Agile, Less, and more. You can try out Gile for free up to 20 users for 30 days by signing up at gile.io, or you may reach out to us for any inquiries or exclusive product demos. Check out the Gile page posted on the chat box. Quick do's and don'ts for all our participants. Request you all to join the event 5 minutes before the start time. Use high quality speakers or headphones for better sound quality. Please keep your microphones muted and videos disabled as this may cause disturbance and bandwidth issues. Questions will be taken via chat box. Please enter your questions in the chat box, and at the end of the session, the facilitator or moderator will help and read out few questions to the speaker as per the time availability. Request you all to fill in the feedback form, which will help us understand more about the event management. We appreciate your cooperation. And with no further delay, let me call upon Jeta and Debashish on microphone and the webcam. Over to you, Jeta.
Okay, thank you very much, Navina. You and without, I think the topic today is very interesting. It's about the collaboration between human and artificial intelligence and the ethical challenges we face. I think in the present times we are all affected by this. Now, without much ado, let me hand it over to Debashish to take us through a very interesting session. At the end of the day, at the end of the session, I will be taking in question and answers. We will try and accommodate as many questions as possible. However, because of time constraints, we may not be able to consider, but please do send in whatever questions you have. Thank you very much, and over to you, Debashish.
Thank you very much. Yes, I mean, Jaida, you said very right. This is a kind of, kind of challenges the entire society is facing. They have a kind of, panic about AI. And the points what we are going to cover, that is probably it will give much interest, and it will probably give a thought-provoking session. After the session also, people will think about it, should think about it. And so we don't have enough time. I don't want to lose any further time here itself. Okay, probably you can see my screen itself, right? So what am I going to present? This is a target audience in this particular session. There could be people, those who have heard about AI, but probably don't have much idea about AI. I mean, how does it function? How it mimics the human behavior? And the secondly, the kind of candidates, those have started working in AI, and probably people those have already have good amount of experience working in AI. So and the policy makers also. So probably for everybody, we need to start this session. Not directly, I will go into the collaborative intelligence. I will start quickly giving an overview how the human behavior is being mimicked by AI itself, and how it started its journey, why AI has boom is going on in 21st century like anything, even though it started the journey around 1950 or 60s itself. So let me get into the agenda first. So what am I going to cover up today? AI and ML relationship, the machine learning and artificial intelligence. What is the relationship? Why in the 21st century it is on the fast track? How and the human learning versus machine learning. High level understanding about the machine learning methods and applications, neural network, how it mimics the human brain. Then it is the image classification, recognition, object detection. All the cases I will just go through overview session. It's not a training session. I am trying to make it a learning session along with a kind of awareness session kind of thing. Major steps to ML model, machine learning model design, artificial intelligence scope and application, which is unlimited, obviously, nowadays, everyone can understand. Strength and weakness, both for human versus artificial intelligence, collaboration, and why collaboration is needed, and then finally the challenges and strategy for ethical AI. So let me go to the first one. So AI ML relationship, why I depicted this particular slide actually. Probably, I mean, a lot of us have a kind of, I mean, misconcept. Everyone understand artificial intelligence means machine learning. No, probably not that. That's not the right concept. Machine learning, it's subset of artificial intelligence. It is a huge part of artificial intelligence, but apart from that, artificial intelligence also covers up the reasoning part, natural language processing, and the planning. So there are four major areas in the artificial intelligence, we can say: reasoning, natural language processing, planning, and machine learning. So reasoning, it could be any kind of reasoning. We know that it could be deductive reasoning, it could be inductive reasoning, it could be common sense reasoning, different kind of reasoning human actually works upon. So basically, where it is a reasoning kind of requirement, there artificial intelligence can be used. Natural language processing, that can be used everywhere. We know, just I'm giving you one example so that for everybody it's easy to relate. When we something type in the mobile or even in the Google Mail itself, automatically it gives the next word in the sequence, next probable word. I just type a kind of word and what could be the next probable word in that sentence. So it basically use the natural language processing. It is called Ngram. So planning, there also the operations part that can be planned using artificial intelligence. In the machine learning, it is categorized four different areas. I mean, supervised learning, where you have the data set and it is a labeled data set. Let's say I'm saying, okay, this is a cat. So I know, my brain knows what is the features of cat and how it differentiates from cat from other animals. So basically, it's a kind of, I mean, supervised learning, right? So it could be with respect to image classification. It could be with respect to normal text processing also. I will come into big details in the subsequent slides. One is unsupervised learning, where the data set is given, but that is not labeled one. Next is the reinforcement learning. And the latest one, where basically lot of research work is going on and which can be utilized in very complex kind of computational part, that is the deep learning, that is neural networks. So this is what basically and these reasoning, NLP and planning, this comes under the rule based AI, where the rule is given, and machine learning comes under the pattern based AI, where basically the algorithm trains, I mean, we need to train the algorithm based on the pattern of the data, and then after designing the model, when we give a data set itself, it will automatically label that data set, that predict that data set what could be the level based on the data characteristics, based on the pattern of the data. Okay, next I'm moving to why AI ML on fast track in 21st century. Because when we are talking about machine learning, particularly, it needs a huge data set for the training. To train the model, it needs, because in human, we from the childhood itself, we learn a lot of things. We learn a lot of things by our experience, by visualizing our surrounding environment, by learning a lot of things from our teachers, learning a lot of things from our peers, learning a lot of things from books and other sources itself. So it is a huge experience we gain gradually itself. It's a learning, and then we apply our learning at the appropriate way for the appropriate situation. So now if we need to mimic this kind of scenario to the machine also, so we need to learn, make them learn. So make them learning, what we are gaining towards throughout our journey, it's a huge set of data. So when we are training a machine learning model, it needs a huge data. How we'll store that data? How we'll process that data? That infrastructure was not there earlier. Even though AI/ML journey started in 1950s, 60s, there was no such infrastructure how the machine learning can be trained with such a huge set of data. And data was also, data availability, that was also a question mark. So to process, to storage the data nowadays, we have the cloud computing. So cloud computing, that is why in that picture you can see I have I have mentioned cloud computing at the center stage, because nowadays cloud computing, without cloud computing, it is impossible to do AI, implement AI where it needs huge data. It is not possible Industry 4.0 or IIoT, whichever it is, so to implement where also it needs huge amount of data processing, cloud is required. Where we are talking about Internet of Things, huge data processing, cloud is required, and big data. So basically the infrastructure nowadays, it is available, number one. And point number two, it is the technology, the way technology is changing in the super fast track itself. IoT, AI, blockchain, all these things are now interrelated. If you are a human is connecting with machine, or machine is connecting with machine, it is nothing but the transfer of data. Now when we are talking about the transfer of data, probably there is some echo is going on, right? Hello. Yeah. So it is all about the transferring the data and then applying artificial intelligence on that data itself. So AI, IoT, AI, big data, AI, blockchain, all the technologies are very much interrelated. So where one technology is progressing to have the end-to-end scenario, the rest of the technologies also needs to progress. So that is the rapid progress is happening in the digital ecosystem, considering the cloud computing as well as the rest of the technologies itself, right? So now I'm going to the next slide, which is so learning type. Now if we just look into the different kind of learning in case of human versus machine, and what kind of learning basically we are utilizing here. So learning type, it could be contextual or non-visual learning. Let's say we are learning just by listening. It could be, yeah, I mean the sensory organs in human use, that is ear, nose, tongue, skin, all our sensory organs we use for non-visual learning itself. And what is our data? Data sources, surrounding environment. For machine, where is the data? Either we supply the data, it could be structured or unstructured, or in the real-time data is coming from IoT, that is from the artificial sensors that is sensing data, sending it back, and the data source could be big data or supplied data. So now what is basically how it is mimicking, you can now relate. There is this supervised learning, and this learning mechanism is basically called the supervised learning. We are labeling the data, we are getting the data, we are labeling that data, and we are understanding and classifying the data. Second is the visual learning. Let's say receptor, we by the receptor is eye, and our data source again surrounding environment. And for machine, we are supplying the image training data set so that it can understand which image, what is the label of that particular image, which is cat, which is dog, which is house, which is bike. Now the technology is used for that, it is the OpenCV or OCR. So that is basically we can utilize in the neural network. Just next what we are looking into, that is the clustering part itself. So clustering and grouping based similarity or difference, where basically you don't have the label data. Let's say I am giving 3 sets of balls, red, green, and blue. For human, just looking by having the colors itself, we can just group all the balls in a separate cluster, red with red, blue with blue, and green with green. But machine does it based on the features. So that is basically unsupervised learning. I am not giving any data, I mean label data set, just I am giving the set of data where it will find out where the similarity of the pattern similarity amongst the data, accordingly it will cluster that data. That is called unsupervised learning, and that is unlabeled data set. Then it is reward motivated learning. For our case in human itself, it comes towards rewards learning. When something we do, it is based for the motivation factor, we give something reward, and automatically it achieve or it increase the motivation level. Let's say a child is trying is not studying, so as a parents, what we do is sometimes we commit for a rewarding if they accomplish certain tasks itself, so that they can improve based on the motivation. We can introduce that kind of motivation in the machine learning model also, and that is what we can say reinforcement learning. Through a reward or punishment mechanism, we can change the states and performing action to obtain next state. And then it is neural network, where basically our human brain is mimicked. We know, I mean, our every action that is directed from our brain, and our in the brain at the in the center stage that is mostly responsible for doing all these things, that is the biological neuron. And biological neuron, that is almost in human we have more than 50 billion neurons itself, right? And in machine we are doing it using the neural network, where basically we are trying to mimic. It is not in the research also, there is a lot of research going on, but still we are doing it using the human brain itself. That is called deep learning, and it can be classified in two ways: perceptron and convolution neural network. I'm not going into deep detail into that. So that is how we can understand what is the different learning type, how human learning and machine learning, these two are related. So just I'm giving a pictorial representation what I have just explained. In the leftmost diagram, supervised learning, if I give dark and not dark kind of picture, and if I level it and may train my model accordingly, then automatically when I give another picture of different picture of dark, it will be able to label that picture that it is a dark picture. Similarly, in the unsupervised learning, it is a clustering. I'm giving dark versus non-dark, then automatically it will classify, okay, it doesn't know whether it is dark, it is birds versus non-birds. So it can understand it could be dark, it could be peacock, it could be something else, but it's under the bird category. But rest of the two, those are not bird category. So basically it will cluster each of the category wise, unsupervised learning. And then reinforcement learning, where basically based on the action rewards is given, and then again look upon the state whether it has improved or not. So that is what called reinforcement learning. Now I have tried to it is a machine learning, three different areas. Mostly it is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Supervised learning can be differentiated into classification and regression. Classification is where is basically it is the categorical data, and regression is where it is numerical data. It is a continuous data. Let's say I'm saying, okay, in this particular zone I can see that in the shop itself I can see the certain vegetables, those are very or let's say in the education system, just or real estate, I am just trying to buy a kind of flat in a particular area where it is a very posh area, and by having some other parameters itself, whether it is a 3-bedroom flat, 2-bedroom flat, location, size of the flat, blah blah blah. So this is the price of the flat. And if we say, okay, if we have this kind of parameters, this is a location, this is a kind of size of the flat, based on that I want to predict my model what could be the price of that particular flat. So that is basically a continuous data. That is what it is, regression. We resolve this kind of prediction using regression model. Where it is categorical, it is classification model, cat, dog, or anything else. It could be textual, it could be image. Then it is reinforcement learning. So for the classification data, what we can do, we can utilize in different areas what I say already: image classification, fraud detection, diagnostics, And for the regression part, we can do forecasting, we can do process optimization, reinforcement learning. It is now reinforcement learning we can utilize in the real-time decision game AI, learning tasks, skill acquisition, robot navigation, likes the self-driving car. Unsupervised learning, it can be utilized for clustering data, where I have given one example already. Clustering data, let's say sample population, so we can use unsupervised learning. Meaningful compression, big data visualization, that comes under the dimensionality reduction. So there are different areas. It is very hard to explain. There is very limited area probably where AI is not being utilized. So next is the deep learning part. Deep learning part, it is how it is the biological neuron that actually works. We have lot of neurons where you can see we have the each of the neuron, it have the most essential part I'm just explaining, which is relevant with respect to artificial neuron, that is the dendrites. You can see the dendrites, and you can see the axon branches. So each of the neurons, I said there are a lot of neurons, each of the neurons are connected. And how it is connected? Dendrite, this part is connected with the axon terminal, so that when from one neuron another neuron, it accepts that particular chemical signal. Here we have the synapse that covers the liquid. In the human brain, there is a soft kind of membrane that covers the dendrite of one neuron to axon terminals of another neuron, and either within the synapse the neuron has the synaptic receptors. So how actually the signal comes? So dendrite, it takes the signal is passed through the synapse, and synaptic receptors that comes in this area where the dendrites takes it from the respective synaptic receptors, where it converts the chemical signal to an electrical signal kind of thing, and the dendrites then receive that information. And there are a lot of dendrites. One neuron is connected with multiple neurons, so different kind of inputs is coming to this neuron from different dendrites. All the inputs are finally, these impulses are carried by the dendrites to the nucleus, which is the center of the neuron. The neuron actually process all the impulses, and then it actually pass that information through the action to the next neuron. So now if you see in the below diagram artificial neuron how it is actually working, you can see there are a lot of parameters, lot of features. Each of the parameter for a data set, that is termed as features. So each of the features or each of the input parameters we are getting, and all the parameters along with the weightage, because not necessarily all the impulse will have similar kind of weightage. We can see even in the question paper also, if we go for the examination, there are different weightages given to different questions. So similarly, for different pulses may have different impulses, right? Different impulses may have different kind of weightage, right? Because everything the human brain receives, it doesn't give weightage to everything same. In that case, probably we cannot differentiate any. A lot of things are happening around us, but we don't give attention to anything and everything. Where it is needed to put attention, there only our brain acts accordingly. So that's how weightage actually it is considered. So weightage, it is given into the artificial intelligence also. In the artificial neuron, for each of the input parameters, certain weightage is given. And actually in the diagram there is one thing is missing, that is also given, that is bias. So when it is actually you are calculating, when all these input pulses is going to the nucleus via dendrites along with the weightage, how actually nucleus function in the computational unit, that actually creates a linear function which is wx plus b. What is this w? W is basically the weight for each of the input parameters. So basically it is w1 x1 plus w2 x2 up to wn xn plus b. B is the bias. It is like a kind of, those are coming from mathematics background or already working in AI, they know wx plus b, that is equivalent to y equals mx plus c, that is a linear equation, right? So an activation function, after having this equation, it activates what to do, what is the next action, how it will send accordingly the output to the next neuron. That activation function, it could be sigmoid, it could be softmax. When it is binary classification, then we use normally sigmoid function. When it is multi-class classification, that use softmax in the AI. So sigmoid, let's say whether it is cat or dog, binary classification. Whether I will travel in this environment, it's raining, yes or no, based on certain criteria, it is sigmoid. When it is multi-class classification, let's say it is car, it is I have given so many pictures in a same image, in the same image, automatically it will identify which is car, which is human, which is cycle. So that's how basically it's a multi-class classification. Then we use softmax as a classifier itself. So that is how the mimicking happens using deep learning. So it is just, probably you have seen this kind of things everywhere. Nowadays it is possible. Let's say even in the pandemic situation also, we have seen a lot of startups, they have designed a model how people are maintaining their distance in the COVID scenario. So everywhere it is locating the image itself. So it is classification. When it is one image only, classification, and localization surrounded box, that is basically the object detection. Object detection mostly comes in the when we have different kind of image objects in the same image. So basically multiple objects are there. Their object detection, it comes with the classification with labeling. You can see in the right side images. So it is surrounded, each of the object is surrounded by a box and it is labeled what it is actually. So now there is one thing. There's a yellow V3, you only look once. One that is basically applicable for identifying teeny objects. There are a lot of algorithms we have already, but I have just mentioned this one just to identify teeny objects, how this can be utilized. So localization and labeling. I will not waste much time here itself. Next, it is the most important steps, 7 steps in the machine learning gathering data. That is the fuel in artificial intelligence. Without fuel, our car will not go. It doesn't matter it is Honda, it is Mercedes-Benz, or it is Maruti, or whatever it is. So it doesn't matter. So fuel is for AI data, fuel is our data. So gathering data based on the data actually depends how your model will look like. If it is gathering data, the first of all quality of data, it is needed. Then after having the data, preparing that data, that is pre-processing. So what is the data quality? So pre-processing itself, we need to do. We need to do the data cleaning. We need to do the noise removal. We need to do the outlier removal. We need to make null values removal. So we need to prepare the right kind of data set. Encoding categorical data also. So next is the splitting of training and testing and validation data itself. Unless you select right data, or if you are very much biased with selection of your data, your model could be overfitted. That is not either overfitting or data model, and then that will not perform as expected with unpredicted data itself, right? With unknown data. So data selection, data extraction, data feature scaling, each of the parameter in AI/ML, it is termed as feature. So it is feature scaling, dimensional reduction, feature extraction. So all together, the data, the data, it has a huge contribution in the AI/ML. It doesn't matter however, whatever it is your AI/ML model, but if it doesn't, it's not get trained on the right kind of data, it doesn't matter. It will not give the right kind of output. So bad data, bad output, even though you have a very good model, right? then train, test and validate, hyperparameter tuning, and finally prediction. So these are the 7 steps basically for the machine learning. Next is AI application. Probably I don't need to spend much time here itself. Everybody knows, I mean, there is very limited area, as I said, movie recommendation, Netflix, AIML. When we say in the in any of the retail website itself, in Amazon, you log in, you purchase something. Today again you have logged in. It will give you the recommendation based on your last item. What are the further recommendation? Next is the mobile or laptop, the biometrics based authentication, facial recognition. As I said, in the mobile, if you type something or in the Gmail, it will rectify the grammatical mistake, or it will suggest the probable next word, right? That is basically using the NLP Ngram. Then it is the fraud detection. It could be real-time fraud detection in the telecom. It could be real-time fraud detection in the banking domain. It could be the fraud detection of accounting statement itself. So in the healthcare, in the Uber or Ola, we can see already that most optimized route it suggests so that we can reach faster itself. So there also it is AIML. Supply chain logistics, it is AIML we are utilizing, either along with the IoT or just transactional data, historical data itself analysis. So supply chain also. Inventory management system, IoT and AI combination, most useful inventory management based on the image analytics, and accordingly it can identify the rather than storing excess items in the inventory, it is the just-in-time production, so that automatically it can identify based on the level of the each of the product rack, and automatically it sends the production unit itself that okay, this is the kind of, I mean, product we have currently in the inventory, so probably it's the right time to produce something itself based on the demand. So too much automation in the another way, in the manufacturing automation, it is the predictive maintenance. We know, I mean, predictive maintenance, that is industrial IoT, where basically edge computing comes, where basically it gives the maintenance, the boiler unit, or the most, any of the important unit in the plant, which is basically needs a periodic maintenance, but based on the current condition, it may not wait for the periodic maintenance. Probably the plant can shut down, the unit can be shut down because of some serious problem, and this edge computing using IoT and AI combination, it can send immediate signal to the respective, I mean, stakeholders or the concerned person that you need to look upon this particular machine or this particular unit. This is giving some kind of, I mean, problem. It is having overheating. It is having excess water level, whatever it is. So predictive maintenance, I mean, IoT plus AI combination. Everywhere it is, AI is coming into picture. That means it is inevitable in our society. Now, what is the strength and weakness of human? Let's say thinking ability. Still, human is ahead of AI, and that is why artist, poet, novelist, scientist, still it is human. It is not yet AI. Removal data bias. Far behind why I have said that human by nature, it could be ingrained human biasness. So if we give the right kind of data to avoid the biasness of the model, then we can avoid biasness in AI, but in human it's very difficult to eliminate biasness. Logic plus emotion, it is this combination we have in human intelligence, but AI has only logic, it doesn't have the emotion yet, right? So ethical, legal, and societal value if we consider, and the leadership trait demands balancing of these two. Decision making, human intelligence has the right kind of strength, but AI can help human to take the right decision. AI decision making is completely data driven, no emotion. AI can enhance human analytics and decision making by providing right data and right time. That is, let's say there is some serious problem in a aeroplane just before the flying time. Probably here AI and IoT is the best combination, not human. but based on that data, human can decide itself. So this is what also part of collaboration, where human will decide based on the data from AI. So combination of AI and human intelligence can give much better result, where the goal is same. Ultimate goal is for the benefit of the society itself, for the benefit of the human being itself. That should be computational ability. Human intelligence is linear, much faster computational ability for machine, even for AI also. Repetitive task and scalability, where human intelligence is far behind than AI, right? So creative thinking, human intelligence is far ahead, but repetitive task and scalability, human can utilize more time on creative thinking by transferring repetitive tasks to artificial intelligence. General prediction ability, human intelligence doesn't have much power there itself, unless it is intuition. But database prediction, that is a strength for AI, and that is where AI is being used for the predicting too much for across domains, right? Intuition, instinct, reflex, common sense, correlation of events or incidents, self-learning and improvement, cause-effect analysis. These are the human intelligence trait. As of now, AI is far behind. Just I'm giving one example. Reflex, that is the recent Uber accidents for self-driving car that happens because of the lack of reflex, which is there for human intelligence. So just one attribute I'm just trying to relate. So where still it is very difficult for AI to achieve it. Adaptability to new environment. At any new environment, it could be because of changing weather, it could be because of surrounding environment, it could be because of anything and everything. Our brain is very much equipped to handle that kind of situation, completely new, for what even we didn't have any earlier experience. But here it is very hard to adapt for AI, right? So human plays the role of AI trainer to mimic human-like personality, like chatbot. Even to develop a chatbot, to develop the personality of a chatbot, human AI trainer is required to train the chatbot how to mimic like human. AI plays the role of frequently asked question only. So quickly, I will go to another couple of slides. So probably then it will be over for the question answer session. So when we go for the change in the, when human plus AI collaboration, it is required. It is the principles. The principle is for any kind of process characteristics. Why we change the process? To have the flexibility, to increase the speed, to increase the scalability, to have better decision making, and to make it more personalized, right? Persona specific. So there, when we'll use human plus AI, we need to reimagine the business process where AI needs to be used and human needs to be involved. Just for the sake of utilizing AI, probably it doesn't make much sense. It is short-term vision. Embrace experimentation, employee or stakeholder involvement. You involve the stakeholder; those are getting impacted, or those should be involved to design it. Actively direct AI strategy. Responsibly collect data collection, that is one of the most important point, as I said, and data quality check and data pre-processing. Redesign work to incorporate AI and cultivate related employee skills. Now, in human AI collaboration, what could be the role of human? What could be the role of AI? Let's say in the human has the huge role to train machine to mimic like human. For like, let's say Alexa from Amazon, let's say Cortana from Microsoft chatbot. And then this kind of chatbot itself, human has a huge role to train them, where basically the novelist, the poet, how to behave, how to interact with the human. It is not only about some frequently asked questions, how to accordingly react. Explaining, just designing AI is not good enough. Human needs to have the explanation. It should not be a black box. There has to have the explainer who will explain any of the models, so that if there is any damage happens, somebody needs to there to explain that model. Sustainability. when there is a damage, particularly there is a team with respect who will look after the data privacy, data security, and the sustainability, robustness of that particular model. Everything that needs to be explained, and there should have a team who can explain it, and there needs to be a team who needs to check the sustainability of the model. This is a very essential role human needs to play, where human and AI is coming into picture together. AI is playing the role of amplifying. Amplifying, what does it mean? Well, let's say I am trying to, as a designer, I am trying to create a particular product as per my choice, as per the customer choice itself, but I don't know which one will be better for me. So I'm giving certain parameters, and based on that, AI can give us a kind of, design. It can give some options. Okay, based on your data set, this is what the design look like, and you need to accordingly choose that one. So amplifying your thought process, right, based on the analytical and your decision making ability, based on the analytical skills. Interacting, human machine interface. Embodying, AI is embodied in robot. Let's say cobot, we know very much we are utilizing nowadays, so that human is being utilized in the shop floor, in the manufacturing unit, but where it is very risky work, where it is very tedious work, where it is very heavy work, so there we can utilize that kind of embodying part itself, where we can attach it to the human body. So it is a combination of human and AI together. Next, it is functional aspect, decision making, where we can say design thinking plus AI, repetitive task scalability, augmentation of human work. So everywhere we can say in the application of intelligence, design thinking, AI led analytics for decision making. For repetitive tasks, just I'm giving the role is complementary. Everywhere you can see the role is complementary. It is human and machine both, AI both. So Apple Siri, Amazon Alexa, Microsoft AI assistant, human role plays the role of trainer, AI plays the role of interaction. Augmentation of human work, that is what I was talking about. Coboton or chairless exoskeleton. So chairless exoskeleton, human posture has certain limitation. I cannot bend my body anywhere and everywhere. It has certain limitation. But chairless exoskeleton, if we can attach to the human body, accordingly, it can be utilized itself in the shop floor, so that it can give some relax to the human worker, and they can spend more time on the creative task, on the more visual inspection, right? Next is the general prediction, where basically the predictive maintenance, clustering, instant fraud detection, forecasting, where speed, scale, personalization, all these kind of process characteristics, where actually human utilize the output of AI and accordingly act upon what needs to be done. Now the role challenges, the last part, what we are going to discuss. So now this is what the global problem. All the corporates, probably most of the corporates, most of the scientists nowadays, this is under discussion. How to AI, everywhere the here, if we don't do our risk benefit analysis, then it is going to create a human life or societal damage. What could be the kind of strategy? Public private partnership is necessary to assess risk benefit of the product or project objective. And what are the steps to mitigate or minimize human or social damage or consequence? It could be human risk. Let's say for self-driving car, if the robustness is not checked, then fatal accident will occur. So we cannot. If the huge unemployment is happening, let's say in the self-driving car itself, we can see it will create huge unemployment if it will be implemented in the public transportation. It will be very hard to accept by human being if there is no accountability if any accident occurs. With respect to the insurance part, there is no accountability. Who is actually accountable for any accident? It's a very thoughtful session. This is a high time we need to think all these things. If nowadays we have my insurance, who has the accountability when there is an accident for any self-driving car? But at the same time, it has some positive side also. It will reduce pollution. Let's say for physically handicapped people, it is a huge help. For unattended senior citizen, it is huge help. Where there is lack of public transportation. So human values. Next is human values. This is one of the another challenge. Ethical design. So you can see in the right side I have written, one is the British standard. It is for the robots. They have a standard BS 8611 that robots should not be designed solely or primarily to kill or harm humans. Humans, not robots, are the responsible agents. It should be possible to find out who is responsible for any robot and its behavior. Second is, just I was looking few days back, there is certain one of the largest democracy, one is the largest population in the world. They have implemented in the port completely automated logistics that is enabled by 5G and AI, no human intervention. How we'll tackle this kind of unemployment? It is not only about just saying that we are going to it will increase the employment in other areas, but increase the unemployment in certain sections. That should not be. We need to understand actually, because it is going to affect each of the domains, across the domains. Earlier era of automation also created a lot of unemployment, but this AI revolution along with IoT and other technology is going to create, this is a severe threat across domains. It is not only manufacturing unit, it is across domains itself, right? Decision making and liability, challenge in apportion responsibility or decisions. So if there is any accountability, it is one of the most important question. It is affecting everywhere, accountability. So now the last one is the transparency with respect to the explainability. We need to, AI model should not be a black box. It should not be only to the owner of the AI model. I mean, somebody also needs to have a regulatory body or somebody who will approve if it will be used for the entire society in a bigger, in a great way. So in that case, must be for customer reassurance or regulators, considering the explainability of that particular model, what is its outcome and why it is required, if there is any kind of problem happens, so whether it can be stopped or not. So that explainability needs to be there. Robustness, before having the AI model get into production, it has to be cross-checked whether it can resist risk or volatility in the real world scenario. Let's say the Uber accident. Then fairness must not discriminate based on race, gender, religion. So you can see recently in one of the largest retail and e-commerce provider, they have their talent acquisition mechanism using AI, but after certain years they got to know that model was very much gender biased, because the data that was trained for the model training, mostly in that the male gender data was collected. So nowadays the scenario has been changed. So during the selection process, it was biased towards the male candidates. So gender biasness was not there. Let's say for the face detection, because face detection is utilized by anywhere and everywhere by a lot of private institutes, it has to have some kind of regulation, and that is why one of the biggest corporate, IBM, has already stopped funding any facial recognition program, because it's violating the gender biasness, it is violating the ethical biasness, and a lot of cases it is being used in a very unethical way. Data privacy and data security, it has to be, because the more we are going towards AI, it is data sense. I mean, the AI is based on data. So if we don't have the data privacy and data security, we are going to compromise with that. And every use case evaluation is needed independently, not generic, right? So the last point, what I need to mention, human and AI. In human, we have all the characteristics, but in AI model, to achieve certain outcome, you need to design a certain model itself. It cannot perform like human, that okay, everything can be achieved by a single machine learning model or simple AI application. So there itself I can say. And summary, I don't want to spend any further time. Probably we are running out of time. Now I am just handing it over to Jaita, if there is any question answer shortly.
Thank you very much for a very interesting session. I think it was really, we learned a lot. Yeah, I would like to, I mean, if there is no question, I had one question, Devashish.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
curious to know, like you mentioned that there is going to be a lot of, I mean, there is a huge potential, as I can see, for it to be used for disabled people as well as for infirms. But the practicalities is that it is a very expensive enterprise, okay, to use AI. Do you see the cost of AI coming down in the future with more use, so that it is like children, like specially able children and infirms in our country would also be able to leverage the advantages of AI?
Absolutely. I mean, very good question, Jaita. So if you see, probably Google has already taken an initiative to learn their platform, where basically the AI ML that can be introduced even at the school level also. So that kind of platform that is they are giving, they are already collaborating. It is not a paid kind of environment. So there are certain parameters probably, but already that can, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough only to have. But AI application, if you say, there are two aspects. One is the learning wise, how we can have more awareness and from the childhood itself, so that people can understand, and that our kids and the next generation, they can start learning from the school days itself. So Google has started this initiative. Other initiatives probably government needs to take. I mean, there is a huge collaboration that is needed at the private public partnership where that can be introduced. But AI at this point in time, you have said right, it is basically very expensive. That's one of the most important reason to make it expensive, availability of data. When you are going to design AI model itself, you need a kind of very either it could be synthetic data or it could be real-time data, but whatever data you are going to have it is very costly itself. You have to buy that data. Secondly, when you are going for AI training, infrastructure wise cost, even though your local in your laptop doesn't have that infrastructure, you have the solution that you can do it in cloud. But cloud, that is also not very cheap. That is also very expensive. I have seen that one of my model, where basically it was a training model for facial recognition in the live streaming, that took almost 24 hours to train, utilizing AWS also. So basically it is very much definitely it's not cheap, but I hope going forward it is the role of the government and the public private partnership that is needed very much.
Yes, actually the corporates also need to pitch in, because they are the ones with all the resources.
Right.
If they can make it available, I mean, this could be part of their CSR initiatives also.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, please.
Every day we are using nowadays the customer care service through chat box. And as Devashish said, chat box is based upon the quality and accuracy of the FAQ fed into the chat box to give the reply. With the result, we as user get fed up with this because we don't get reply what we want. When olden time it used to be the human listening to me, I was getting the correct reply. And that is why this all technology is good, but the quality of data and accuracy of data is the main requirement which only human can provide.
Right.
That was my concern.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one is the data, and another part with respect to chatbot, that is also the how you are training your model. It is not only data is the major role, but apart from that, how even in the real current scenario, some of the startups, they are working how to behave, what is the tonal quality when it is coming to voice, then what will be the tonal quality everywhere. Let's say I am just coming for a complaint which is ridiculous, and it is a long-term pending story. So basically, definitely as a customer, my mood is not good. So there, how to react with that customer like a human being. So considering the emotion, that kind of intelligence also is, probably going to be introduced into the chatbot going forward. But end of the day, it is how we are training, how we are mimicking the behavior of human behavior, and with respect to FAQ, it is about the data. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jetta, and thank you so much, Debashish, for such an informative session. It was really amazing because AI is something which everyone is fond of, and you have really taken us through in-depth study onto AI.